Have you ever been hurt by someone, yet couldn't point to a single scar? The pain came not from a shout, but from a deafening silence, not from an attack, but from a calculated absence. If you have ever felt your spirit breaking while your mind was still making excuses for them, this message is for you. We have been told that hatred is loud, that it screams and rages, but the most dangerous poison is not the one that burns your tongue. It's the one administered so slowly, so silently, that you begin to believe the sickness is coming from within you. Today, we shine a light into the shadows of intentional harm. A Shaolin student asked his master, "How do I know if a tiger is playing or trying to kill me?" The master replied, "A tiger that plays will never draw blood. If you are bleeding, stop pretending it was a game." How many of us are bleeding emotionally, yet still trying to convince ourselves it's just a game? Today, we stop pretending. A person who intentionally hurts you does not always scream when they do it. Sometimes, the deepest damage comes in silence, in a conspicuous absence, in carefully chosen moments of neglect, and that is how you know it was never an accident. Take a deep breath here and feel what that truth does in your body, because when pain is subtle, when betrayal is precise, when your spirit feels the sharp sting but your mind keeps making excuses, that is where the deepest inner suffering begins. We are conditioned to look for the storm, the slammed doors, the raised voices, the obvious signs of conflict. But no, the most dangerous hatred is quiet. It is a master strategist. It observes your vulnerabilities, notes your deepest insecurities, and then, with the precision of a surgeon, it chooses the exact words that will break your self-esteem. It waits until you are at your most vulnerable to withdraw affection. It pretends not to notice your pain, and the worst part, it does not flinch when it sees you suffer. When someone harms you with intention, it is not merely a careless action. It is a clear expression of their own inner landscape. It is their conscious choice to damage rather than to dialogue, to destroy rather than to understand. And yet, when this happens to us, we rarely recognize it for what it is immediately. We try to rationalize their behavior. We search for what we might have done wrong. We wonder if we misunderstood. But true wisdom begins where our denial ends. In the quiet courtyards of the Shaolin Temple, where wisdom is forged, there is a teaching story. A student once asked the master, "How do I know if a tiger means to kill me or if it is just playing?" The master replied, "A tiger that plays will never draw blood. If you are bleeding, stop pretending it was a game." This ancient wisdom holds a profound relevance in our modern relationships. Sometimes we excuse ongoing damage as a mere misunderstanding. We believe the person was just having a bad day, that they didn't truly mean it. But over time, patterns reveal intention. A one-time hurt may be an accident, but repeated emotional cuts, delivered with a chilling awareness of your sensitivities, are not mistakes, they are messages. And here is what most people fail to understand. Intentional damage rarely screams. It whispers, it manipulates, it waits for your moment of vulnerability and chooses that precise time to strike. It may come through biting sarcasm disguised as a joke, through passive-aggressive remarks, or through a sudden, deliberate silence right when you needed support the most. The pain it causes is not chaotic, it is calculated, and therein lies its true cruelty. Not all weapons allowed, some are psychological, and when those weapons are wielded with an intimate knowledge of your heart, it is not just unkind, it is intentional destruction. Why does a person who harbors this quiet hatred often avoid direct confrontation? Because confrontation requires honesty. It reveals their true motive, and to harm with impunity, one must conceal their intent. A person who damages you intentionally does not want you to fight back. They want you confused, unsure, and forever hoping for their approval, all while they systematically pull the rug from under your feet. This is where your awareness must begin, not in the mind, which is the master of excuses, but in the body, because long before you consciously realize someone is hurting you intentionally, your body already knows. Your breath shortens when they are near. Your chest tightens, your sleep becomes restless, your joy becomes cautious and hesitant. The body has no need to rationalize, it only reacts to energy. When someone's presence brings a persistent, low-grade tension, your nervous system is speaking a profound truth. You must learn to listen. Modern neuroscience confirms this ancient wisdom. The human nervous system is built to attune to others, especially in close relationships, when someone we trust acts in a way that contradicts their words. Our nervous system goes into a state of dissonance. This is known as limbic confusion. It is the reason why someone can smile at you, speak calmly, and yet your stomach feels uneasy and your intuition rings like an alarm. It is not your mind being paranoid, it is your ancient, intuitive brain detecting a mismatch, a violation between what is being shown and what is truly being felt. Intentional harm is rarely about volume, it is about precision. And that is what makes it so dangerous. It penetrates deep without leaving visible scars, causing you to question your own perceptions. And the more you question yourself, the more power the other person gains. As the Taoist teachings say, he who distorts your mirror controls your reflection. If someone can cause you to question your own reality, they can begin to shape your identity. And this, for many who hate in silence, is the ultimate goal, not just to hurt you, but to remake you in a weaker, more controllable image. It often begins subtly. A partner who consistently jokes about your biggest dreams, a friend who grows silent and distant when you succeed, a family member who remembers every single mistake but never your efforts. Over time, these are not random lapses. They are a form of conditioning. They teach you to associate connection with self-betrayal, and that is how you begin to shrink yourself to maintain a false peace. But peace built on self-erasure is not peace. It is captivity. To heal from this, you must first acknowledge the truth. Not everyone who hurts you does so accidentally. Some do it because they feel powerless within themselves, and instead of facing their own inner suffering, they project it onto others, especially those who carry light, warmth, or sensitivity. Your light becomes a mirror that reflects their own limitations, and in their pain, they attempt to break the mirror rather than change themselves. Understanding this brings clarity, not blame. It is not your responsibility to fix someone who chooses to harm. It is your responsibility to recognize when harm is deliberate and to withdraw your energy from it. That is the first, sacred act of self-respect. But many of us struggle with this, because those who damage intentionally often pretend to care. They offer just enough warmth to keep you hoping. This creates an addictive, confusing loop in your brain known as intermittent reinforcement. Your mind begins to chase validation from the very source of its pain. But let us be clear. Seeking love from a person who intentionally harms you is like begging for water from a poisoned well. It will never quench your thirst. It will only make you sick. So, how do we free ourselves? The first step is to return to the body. Sit in silence. Place a hand on your heart and ask, do I feel safe with this person? Or am I just attached? There is a world of difference. Attachment is fear-based. It clings and doubts. Safety is grounded. It allows you to breathe fully and relax into your own being. If someone's presence causes your body to contract again and again, listen, that is your truth. This brings us to the physiological damage that occurs. Chronic exposure to emotional cruelty activates the body's stress response, flooding it with cortisol. Over time, this leads to fatigue, brain fog, and physical illness. The body begins to collapse under the weight of constant self-protection. You are not living, you are surviving. But the body, just as it holds the trauma, also holds the key to recovery. Begin with the breath, deep, slow inhalations, even slower exhalations. This simple act signals to your nervous system that the danger has passed. Practice grounding. Stand barefoot on the earth. Feel its unwavering support. Let your body remember what safety feels like. When you return to your body, you return to your power. Reclaiming your nervous system is not just a physical act. It is a spiritual rebellion. It is a declaration of sovereignty over your own inner space. You are serving an eviction notice to the emotional damage that has taken up residence in your body. From this space of awareness, we stop trying to explain ourselves to those who are committed to misunderstanding us. Do not let their silence become your shame. Do not let their control become your identity. Your soul is not a battlefield. It is a garden, and a garden must be protected. Not everyone deserves to walk among your flowers. It is not hatred to protect yourself from those who intentionally cause you harm. It is the highest form of self-love. The moment you choose this love, you begin to heal, not because the damage didn't happen, but because it no longer defines you. In these moments of deep emotional pain, when the subtle cruelty of others slices through our peace, the natural reaction is to strike back. The body, stirred by this pain, surges with energy. The heart beats faster. The breath quickens. This surge of energy is a critical moment. It is a crossroads. One path leads to impulsive reaction, to lashing out, to feeding the very fire that is burning you. But there is another path, a path of wisdom and power. It involves taking this very energy and transmuting it, turning the poison into medicine. How do we do that? How do we stand in the heart of that storm and choose peace over pain? Our journey into that very practice begins now. We left off at that critical crossroads, feeling the body's surge of energy in response to intentional harm. In that moment of heat, our instincts scream for us to fight back, to defend our honor, to match fire with fire. But the ancient teachings of the Shaolin and the Buddha remind us of a more profound path, that true strength is found not in reaction, but in stillness. Let's explore how to cultivate this unshakable power. From the Shaolin perspective, the one who reacts is always at a disadvantage, because reaction is not a choice. It is a habit, a pre-programmed response, and habitual reaction, especially in relationships where harm is deliberate, only feeds the cycle of suffering. The person who seeks to damage you is an emotional arsonist. They are trying to set fire to your inner peace. Your reaction is the oxygen they need to make the flames grow. They want you off-center. When you respond with anger or desperation, they feel a sense of power. But when you remain still, calm, grounded, rooted like a mountain, they are utterly disarmed. Stillness cannot be manipulated. It is a language their unconscious chaos does not understand. There is a teaching in Eastern philosophy: to observe without becoming is to master the moment. In the heat of an emotional confrontation, to observe what is arising in your body without becoming that emotion is the foundation of inner freedom. This does not mean suppression. It means choosing not to be possessed by anger or fear, but instead to witness it like a passing cloud, knowing that you are the vast, unchanging sky. Imagine a partner who knows your wounds well. In a moment of conflict, they weaponize your past, throwing your deepest insecurities at you like stones. The temptation to scream or retaliate is immense, but in that moment, the one who can pause for just a single, conscious breath creates a sacred space, and in that space, clarity is born. The breath is the key. A deep inhale, held gently, then released even more slowly. This simple act interrupts the automatic cycle of reaction. It is the biological off-ramp from the highway of rage. Neuroscience tells us that when we take control of our breath, we re-engage the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for wise, rational choice. We step out of the primal, survival brain and back into our conscious self. Over time, this practice of stillness becomes your shield, not a cold wall that isolates you, but the warm, permeable boundary that protects you. You no longer feel compelled to respond to every provocation. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. This is the deepest form of power. Stillness is not the absence of emotion. It is the disciplined container for emotion. You feel the fire rise, but you do not let it burn down the house. As a martial artist knows, the most dangerous opponent is the one who does not flinch. Why? Because that fighter is centered, and when you are centered, nothing external can dictate your internal state. When the world screams, you listen to your breath. When accusations fly, you anchor into your body. When someone tries to define you by your worst moment, you remember that you are not what you feel. You are what you do with what you feel. There is a story of a woman whose partner often belittled her with subtle jabs disguised as jokes. For years, she laughed it off. But over time, she felt her spirit shrinking. One day, after another joke cut deep, she did not react. She simply sat in silence, observed her breath, and placed a hand on her chest. And in that silence, she didn't find weakness. She found her spine. She found a quiet, unshakable resolve. Her subsequent change was not born of revenge, but of calm, deliberate distance. Her stillness spoke louder than any argument ever could. This is the refusal to let someone else's storm become your climate. And from this place of clarity, an even deeper truth begins to reveal itself. The people who seek to damage you with intention are almost always at war with themselves. Their cruelty is not, and was never, about you. It is a projection of their own fragmentation and unresolved pain. You become the screen onto which they project the parts of themselves they cannot face. A person drowning in their own insecurity will call you arrogant for simply standing tall. A person who cannot forgive themselves will shame you endlessly for your imperfections. And if you are not aware, you may begin to internalize their shadows as your own identity. But there is another way. When you recognize projection for what it is, you can step out of the role they have cast for you. You can say to yourself, "This is not my reflection." As the Buddhist teachings say, the arrow that hits you is not the one they shoot. It is the one you do not remove. When someone projects their pain, it may pierce you. That is the first wound. But whether you let it remain in your soul by replaying it and believing it, that is your choice. Removing the arrow requires the quiet courage to see that their hatred was never truly about you. Let us be clear. Understanding this is not an excuse for their behavior. An adult is always responsible for their actions, but this understanding is a key that unlocks your prison of taking personal responsibility for their pain. Think of the adult who wounds with words. Inside him is often a wounded child, unseen, unheard, unhealed. Their behavior is not justified, but it can be understood. And from that understanding, you are freed from the exhausting need to change them, because you finally see it was never your battle to fight. The moment you internalize this truth, you stop dancing to the rhythm of someone else's chaos. You stop proving your worth to those who refuse to see it. You simply return to your presence, and from that presence, you choose wisely who deserves your energy. This is not arrogance. It is self-honoring. You are not a sponge for the world's pain. You are a vessel of your own light, and not every light belongs in every room. As this understanding deepens, your body begins to shift. The nervous system finally relaxes because the need to perform, to explain, to defend, simply disappears. You are no longer living in someone else's projection. You are living in your truth. So, the next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, ask yourself, is this mine to carry? Or am I simply standing in front of a mirror that reflects their wall? And if the answer is the latter, step back. Return to your breath, observe, do not become. When you see clearly, you no longer play roles that diminish your spirit. You stand still, you stay present, you protect your peace, not by building walls, but by honoring your sacred space. And in this still, unshakable presence, something beautiful begins to happen. You remember who you truly are, and no one can ever take that away from you. The ultimate act of spiritual practice is to become a fierce protector of your own peace. It is to learn that your well-being is not negotiable, and your inner sanctuary is not open to those who would do it harm. The journey we have taken today is not an easy one, but it is the path to true freedom. It is the path from reaction to stillness, from confusion to clarity, from self-blame to self-honoring. The ultimate truth is this: your inner peace is your birthright, and only you can give away the key to that kingdom. In a world filled with noise, your stillness is your superpower. This path of healing is deeply personal. If you feel comfortable, share one word in the comments that represents what you are choosing to reclaim for yourself. It could be stillness, clarity, or freedom. Your intention matters and inspires us all. If this message provided a moment of strength for you today, please support our work by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. We are a community dedicated to exploring these paths of wisdom and healing together. Thank you for your courage in exploring this topic. Remember, you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. Walk forward in your power. Be well.